Thank you, Terrence. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to speak here. And I'm honored to be here for the first workshop, so I hope you guys get a lot out of it. Again, I am Tamika Franklin, and my business is Precision Franchise, and I am a franchise broker and consultant. So what that means is, and the term broker and consultant is used interchangeably in this industry is the same. Um, so what that means and what I do is I help you in finding the right business to basically navigate that space, navigate the franchise space. If you are looking and curious in owning another business and you want to own in the franchise industry, I teach you about the different opportunities that are out there. But more importantly, I try to get to understand you, your transferable skills, which is hence this presentation, your get to understand your background. It's more so of a discovery call for our consultation, where I then go back into inventory and come back with the options that's going to make most sense for you. So we find that alignment. So it basically stops you from going down that rabbit hole. So the consultations is not it's not at any cost to you. I am compensated by the franchise brands themselves. And I also help you, I help connect you with the right professionals that you're going to need along that journey, along with guiding you through the different range of franchises that they have. And I provide you with that ongoing support as well. So I want to start with the basic, which is just what is franchising. The reason why I always start with that is because there's a lot of assumptions in this industry as well. A lot of people think that because there's multiple locations, that it's automatically a franchise. And there are particular things that would make a business a franchise. So first, it's a business model where the franchisor licenses its brand, trademarks, and operating methods to a franchisee. So you as the owner would be the franchisee in exchange for a fee. The franchisor provides ongoing support and training while the franchisee operates the business under the franchisor guidance. These are some interesting statistics within the industry and why the franchising space is so successful. One is an $800 billion industry. There's well over 4,000 franchises out there with over 50 industries, and typically it's a 90% success rate. So if there's business owners out there, as you know, there has been this statistic of small businesses after 5 years, it's only 50% failure rate or 50% success rate. In the franchise industry, is a 90% success rate. Some of the key facts is the brand recognition, and what's most key about that would be the fact there's a proven business model. So these are businesses that has already gone through the mistakes, has a system in place, and now you're able to basically buy into that system. So this is what sets it apart and why they're successful. The things you want to look for in the brand are their reputation. You want to understand that the franchise agreement should be clear. Their financial stability is important. Their proven success records, and also the type of support and resources that this business is going to be providing you. This is very key because, again, this is what's going to set apart why someone would start up the business from scratch as opposed to go ahead and own in this franchise. So the support, training, things of that nature is incredibly important. It is also regulated by the FTC. So again, for you to be a franchise, you have to have a document which I'm going to touch on called the FDD, and all franchises are regulated by the FTC. So those are the main difference. That's how you would know whether a business is a franchise or not. So what is an FDD? The FDD is the franchise disclosure document. And it's a legal guide that explains all the important details you need to know before buying a franchise. So it's a huge document that every franchise have to renew. It is so important that you have to have this document legally for 14 business days before you can move forward. So that's how important it is. And this is why I always would recommend and advise that you speak with a franchise attorney specifically when you are looking into franchises. So it is important because it's going to provide you with all of the information you need to know about that particular business. So the costs, your obligations, your risks, all of that is going to be actually provided to you within that document and also within the process. So then that's supposed to help you avoid any type of mistakes before investing. So you do have ample opportunity to really research the business that you're thinking of, unless you decide to skip steps. And we're gonna talk about that as well. So the topic is about transferable skills. So quickly, it's skills that it's your ability to take your qualities and skills that you have and take it from one job or situation and apply it to another. The two types are soft skills and hard skills. The soft skill is going to be empathy, resilience, you have adaptability. Hard skills, leadership, financial acumen, project management, technical skills. So I put this together. We're going to call her Sarah. This is someone that I did meet with, but for this example is to show you how I would go from consultation to how I would get then funnel it down as far as to the businesses that I would end up showing her. So for Sarah, she studied health law. She worked as a journalist in television, and she has a strong corporate background. She possesses leadership skills, perfect for business ownership, and she prefers to manage a small team. Which all those things are very key to me when someone tells me that. And she values the franchise model that emphasizes education, support, and growth. So the things that's going to pop out to me as far as the transferable skills would be research and process analysis, her strong corporate background, the fact that she wants to manage a small team, wellness, education, and support. I'm sorry, she values education and support and data analytics. Yes. Let me change the camera because it's covering some of my material. So the industries that she's going to be well suited for is going to be B2B, healthcare and wellness, and education. And notice how I didn't jump to businesses right away. I went to the industries, and we'll touch on that as well. So just quickly, the B2B was pulling from her corporate background, that, her journalism, leadership skills, and the fact that she successfully managed small teams and build important relationships. That's making her basically align with the B2B franchises that are out there and education support. For health and wellness, she has a health law degree, so that could be valuable for the regulations and compliance to the healthcare sector. Her strong research skills enables her to stay informed about industry trends, helping her franchise remain competitive. She has the ability to manage small teams as well, and that does align very well with this type of industry and the collaborative nature. And last but not least, her education. She has a passion for education, so that's going to drive her interest in franchises that support growth and development. Communication skills, her communication skills developed through her journalism background are vital for engaging with students and staff. As a great leader, she can inspire her team of educators to deliver exceptional learning experiences, aligning perfectly with the focus on continuous improvement found in education franchises. So there's several professions that are really good for franchising. I'm just going to talk about a couple. The first would be business owners. There's some business owners out there. Business owners are great because it's a great way to diversify your portfolio. Also because of the leadership, financial management, customer relation, problem solving, and adaptability. People that are in the healthcare and wellness providers, they have strong communication, empathy, problem solving, management skills, regulatory knowledge, marketing experience, adaptability, and financial acumen. And educators, they have strong communication, leadership, organization, problem solving, and mentoring skills. Veterans make excellent franchise owners. In fact, 15% of franchises in the US are owned by a military veteran because of their attention to detail, situation awareness, and communication skills. Here's the top reasons. They're easy to train. They follow system and rules, which is extremely important in this industry. They have a bigger than self attitude, commitment and hard work, stress management, leadership, and result-oriented planners. So we're going to jump into the common pitfalls when selecting a franchise. So notice again, I want to jump back at when I went from Sarah, all of her transferable skills, and the first thing I did was go into the industry. A lot of times, because we don't know what we don't know, we only, when we think of franchises, we think of, one or two industries, basically. Food and gyms. That's what most people are gonna think about when they think about franchising. So it's important that you think about the industry that you're going to be more aligned with, and besides the brand, because the one thing you don't want to do is pick a brand and say you want to own this brand just because you like their sandwich or something like that. So that's not the right reason to own a business and to own a franchise. So that is something that I do focus on, and where the transferable skills is going to come in handy. So you definitely don't want to skip through research. You want to be very honest about the financial requirements, so don't ignore that. Um, and you don't want to like skim through or overlook the franchise agreement as well. Again, you have a lot of things at your fingertips. It is for you to not follow any process to be able to. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to find a business fit if you're doing all these right steps. So making sure that you're asking not only questions, but ask a lot of questions, not only the right questions, but ask a lot of questions as well. There is a process. So if you're impatient, you're super analytical and you just want, to do this by tomorrow, it may not be the industry for you. Not to say that you're not able to go in and quickly buy a franchise, but typically you'll be shooting yourself in the foot if you do it that way. So you want, most franchises, they do have a process where some of them may have like an 8-step process, some of them may have a shorter process, a 4-step or 3-step. But you want to make sure that you're going through each of the process diligently. There's particular steps that you definitely don't want to skip. One is the validation stage. So this is where you're going to have the opportunity to speak to other franchise owners. Why would anybody skip that? I do not know, because you're hearing from the horse's mouth. So if you, for example, are coming in and you decide that you want to hold on to your job, maybe just for a year or two, and then transition into full-time ownership, then you should want to speak to a few people that mimics that as well. You want to speak to other owners that's doing the same thing. You also want to speak to other owners that may be full-time right away. And then that way, at least you have something to compare it to and see, well, does this make sense? Is it financially feasible? And what was the essential differences between them? And of course, don't ignore industry experts such as myself. So some of the questions that you want to ask, and you want to start with yourself, is just be honest with yourself. Am I actually ready to own a business or a franchise, period? Can I see myself in this business? And do I have the financial resources to invest? The questions that you want to ask the franchisor: what kind of training will I receive? How much ongoing support can I expect? Again, this is very important, because what sets you apart, not just from the competition in a franchise industry, but what sets you apart from, if it's a handyman service, from me just getting some tools and a couple of my friends and go ahead and starting a business. What is it that I'm getting here that I can start for myself? So you want to understand the type of support and training that they're going to be giving you. And also, of course, what is the total cost to get started? Last but not least, the franchisees is in your validation stage. You want to make sure that you're asking key questions. What has been your biggest challenge since opening the franchise? How supportive is the franchisor when you face difficulties? And would you invest in this franchise again if given the choice? I wouldn't talk to, that's like probably like one of the number one questions, because if all in all they'll do it again, that tells you a lot. I'm going to pause here to see if there's anybody that has any questions for me right now. I can't see the chat, so if there's any questions in the chat, Sarah, you can let me know. Or if there's anybody want to on mic real quick, they can do so.
There's one question in the chat, but I think we can wait to the end for that one.
Okay. I'm almost done. Okay, so some of the resources out there, you have Franchise Business Review, or FBR. that's gonna they do a lot of surveys on a lot of different franchises. So it's just a good place to start and look at. You have the IFA, International Franchise Association. They have a lot of different tools, etc. They do a lot of different expos throughout the year. And of course, you have Precision Franchise. I have a lot of blogs. I'm going to touch on the YouTube channel that I have as well, and just a ton of content and information on my socials about the different types of businesses that are out there. I do have a book. It is called Your Franchise Roadmap. It's going to take you from that discovery to decision. And if you insist on moving forward and doing this yourself, then I would absolutely say you might want to pick up this book because it goes into further details and everything that I mentioned in this presentation. It also gives you the opportunity to evaluate, let's say you're looking at maybe 2 or 3, then it's definitely a good practical book to have because you're able to properly evaluate them and write in the book, etc. And it is available on Amazon. These are some of the resources that are available on my website at precisionfranchise.com. The Franchise Fit form is a form that's very informative. You are able to actually rate the level of interest in various franchises, various industries that you may or may not have realized. So sometimes people will be surprised that they see vending or beauty, and they'll have a high interest. They'll say, well, I'll rate that an 8 or 10. So it's just a way for our conversation to be a little more streamlined, and it helps us both in the conversation. So this is something that I do ask if you do want to have a conversation with me, that you do go either on the website or this is a link for it directly where you can check it out and complete that. The Franchise Vibe. So this is my YouTube channel, and it was created off of the webinars that I've held throughout the years. So they're more bite-sized video, they're more focused, and it's taken a lot of different people from the industry. So I talk about franchises, the industry in a whole. We talk about different topics within the industry, and I highlight businesses that you don't normally see that are doing extremely well. So it's a great resource to be able to see live, like what's going on. And of course, the ask would be that you reach out to me if there is an interest. And of course, like and subscribe. I do highly recommend that you check out the YouTube channel. And if you are ready to have a conversation, again, the consultation is free. The work that I do, again, just think about it as when you're looking to buy a house and you have a real estate agent. You could look at 7 houses. If you need to come back, you don't pay that real estate agent. So think of it in that way. The services are free. This is just a way for you to avoid the rabbit hole, and you have guidance and making sure that you're focused. So if you are ready to have a conversation, you can go ahead and scan that QR code, or again, as I said, on my website, precisionfranchise.com, and I'll put it in the chat. You would be able to find these same resources and connect with me. Okay, and that is it. If there's any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Tamika. That presentation was it's very helpful. I mean, I think that there are obviously a lot of questions. I think a lot of people, we see these franchises every day, we see these brands, and there's a lot of mystery behind that process. I had a question though. I read an article once speaking about Subway. And, as we know, at one point, Subway was one of the largest franchise models in the country. They're probably still up there, but there was a big issue with regards to some of the franchisee owners feeling that Subway was giving out too many licenses in their territory. So the question is, when you're considering these models, do you have negotiation power to have a territory? How does that work?
As far as territory is concerned, where it's located?
Yeah, to kind of protect yourself from the franchisor, like opening up another one or allowing another franchisee to open up down a block from you on at a better intersection than you, but literally in the same neighborhood as you.
Right, understood. So that's actually a good point to bring up, and that is where your franchise disclosure document come in, and when you're speaking to them directly. All of that is supposed to be laid out. So that's not something that would have been hidden. Likely it would have been in the franchise disclosure document. There's particular items, I didn't get to go into that, but there are particular items where you would go into that item, which is basically a section in the FDD, and you'll be able to see see where the territory rules and things of that nature is. And when during the process, when you're speaking with them, these are the types of questions that you want to ask and be clear. And that's why you also want to make sure that you do have a franchise attorney, which I do align you. So I do align you with a franchise attorney. Obviously, you do not have to go with the person, but these are just people that I'm connected with that I do provide. The franchise attorney, someone in funding as well. So that's where this type of stuff is important, where your due diligence will come in.
So you beat me to the second question, which was legal, like with regards to, you can give the consultation, but obviously there's a lot of legal questions that I think people would have. And, do you have any idea on what type of cost these franchise attorneys charge to help you, I don't know, go over your contract, things of that nature?
It varies. The last I saw, I mean, it could be anywhere from. It's not anything vastly different from sitting with an attorney on other matters. I know that I've seen it maybe 1,500, 2,000. It does vary, depend on the attorney. I know that when I do introduce you, you do get at least a free consultation, which is why I always, when I do introduce, I wait until a little bit like the tail end, unless you really want to speak to them now, because I think it'll be better. You get a better bang if you wait until you kind of have more of an idea. If you're looking at 3 businesses and you narrowed it down to, well, it's either this one or this one, then that's probably when you should speak with the attorney, because at least that way you get to, at least maximize on the consultation. Or if you think you've made your decision. So I would go with the consultation first. I provide a resource that helps you read the FDD, so it helps you pull out particular questions to kind of prepare you because you don't know what you don't know, right? So to know what to ask, and it just starts to make sense once you're in the process, and then you have that conversation with the attorney.
Great. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess the more you know going into that consultation with the attorney reduces the amount of billable hours. You're gonna
Yeah, they all work differently. It's not my wheelhouse. They all work differently. But what I do know is, I mean, this is a large investment. So I would say, like, when you're buying a house, you have an attorney, right? So it's like, if you're gonna buy this, you're gonna invest this type of money. Like, why not, have an attorney, make sure to look over. It's a 200-page document.
Well, thank you so much. Obviously, to the Black Adult Society community,
I did have a question. Can you hear
me? Jeff, you have a question?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
So this is great information, Tamika. Obviously, we're going to follow up with some things that we do as well on business credit. But you mentioned financing. So typically, I'm assuming that different franchises have a different amount of down payment that you need to put down and things of that nature. Interest rates, does the franchise itself fund you? Could you give me some insight, just out of curiosity, what that financing structure? I'm sure it varies from franchise to franchise, but maybe just an idea of what a person might be looking at, and maybe just pick a franchise and how much it might cost to start maybe a Subway. How would that financing work?
So you have different ways to fund the franchise. The same way you would fund any other business, right? You have SBA loans, you have ROBS, which a lot of people are not that familiar with, but it's rollover for business startups, where you can utilize your retirement funds. You have, and some of the franchises do also have where they may have either, I would call it like a department, where they do, offer financing and things of that nature. Some of them do. So honestly, I can't just like pick out like which franchises do that. Like it varies. So it's like the best thing to do, honestly, is, again, once you're looking, if anything you pull from this is, don't think about the brand. Because again, see, the 2 things that popped up was So in my inventory, and not that I don't have very large brands like that, because we do, it's those are like what we would call like empire brands. Like they have thousands and thousands of franchises. So they're already at their peaks. And I don't think I had touched on that question you asked also, Terrence, about franchises growing too fast and things of that nature. A classic example of that would have been like a Quiznos. So these are all the things that you want to pay attention to, and you're able to get that type of information as well. Um, but you can look at, for example, now use another food example. You might look at it and be like, well, I want a McDonald's, and it's like, okay, so do you really want a McDonald's, or do you want food? Do you want, you know what I mean? Does it have to be a McDonald's? Because I can show you 10 brands that's going to be equivalent of what it's going to take for you to own a McDonald's. You know what I mean? And they're making crazy money. So those are the things that you want to think about. And do you even want to be in that industry? Maybe it's home services that you need to be in. So that's kind of what I definitely want to push. But I want to make sure I answer your question.
No. You're 100% right. I know it definitely varies. You mentioned
But
SBA loans, and some franchises have to be fall under that SBA guideline that SBA will fund a franchise like that as well.
right, right, yeah. And there's a lot of franchises that are actually on the list as well, on the SBA list.
Yeah.
So that's also something to know. But I hope I answered your question. I'm so sorry.
No. Yeah, it's a very question. So obviously, like you said, some franchises cost some a little bit more, some a little
Yeah.
bit less, right?
So if you're thinking about food, if you're thinking about restaurants and things of that nature, that's always going to be on your tail, that you're on the higher end,
Yeah.
because you have equipment, you have employees, you have inventory. So that's something that you would have to understand and consider. It also is something that's going to take up your time as well.
Sure.
So think about your lifestyle and what you're doing, and is that the fit for that? Or is it more so of a business where you have less employees, and it's not a brick and mortar, and it's more of a service brand, or it's in real estate, or it's a B2B. So those are the things that you really want to figure out first, or else you're
Sure.
just going to end up falling into a rabbit hole. And you do a search, and this happens a lot. You do a search and a bunch of stuff comes up. You got a bunch of stuff on your feed, and you start filling out some things to get information, or that you don't check off the right boxes, and sometimes you don't even hear anything back. Why? Because you didn't check off the right boxes. Because you're saying like, oh, I want to, own this, I don't know, I'll use food again, own this, food brand. And it's like, oh, but I have $30,000. They're not even going to speak to you. Like, they're not going to learn. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's where you want to understand and start.